Let's start preparing file for printing. I will use A4 size paper as an example. So I started my Photoshop. I will create new document by clicking on Create New, and by default I'm going to use default settings. I will click on Print in here, click on A4, and by default the size of A4 is 210 and 297. But because we are preparing files for printing, we need to include bleeds in our projects. Bleeds are the areas that are going to be cutted off after we do the printing. I will explain this a little bit later. But because I need to add bleeds, I need to change the size of the default A4 paper. So if I'm adding 3mm bleeds, for example, this would mean that I'm adding bleed on the right side of the document and on the left side. So on the width it would be 216, and on height it would be 303. So once again, bleed on left, on right, top and bottom. I will switch to CMYK color mode because this is a correct color mode for printing. So let's click on Create. So this is our document. Let me just add some kind of background. And I want to place like two elements just as an example on my project. What I need to remember is actually to put them in correct place and always remember about the areas at the edges. So let's just write something. So I've added a layer of text. I will put it at the top because right now it's not visible, and change color to white. So right now my text is visible. Let's just change the size of it. Okay, before I go further, what I want to do is I want to create my guidelines. Guidelines will help me judge the correct size of bleeds. So if you don't see the rulers, you've got them ready in view mode. You've got ruler option in view mode. So if I turn it on, I've got the rulers. I will right click on it, switch to millimeters, and right now I can zoom in into my project, grab, left click in here, and place this guideline on about 3mm, and the same in here, and I can go at the bottom right part, and also place them in here. So right now they don't have to be perfect. They would not be visible in printing, but they just give me some information about the sizes of the bleeds. So right now I know that all those area behind those guidelines would be cut off after printing. And because of that, I need to remember that when I have some important text, like it should not be directly on the cut lines. It should like have at least 3mm safe space. So if I put it somewhere in here, and let's say somewhere in here, this would be fine because it's a safe space from the trim lines. So the next step is going to be to start Illustrator and create a new document. So I will start Illustrator, click on Create New, and once again select Print, select A4, switch from points to millimeters, and we've got 210 and 297. We are not changing this size because this size is our final size of printed document, but we are adding information about the bleeds in here. We've got bleed and we've got this information in here. So let's click on Create. So this way we created a document. So this would be our final size, and the red rectangle would be the size with bleeds. So I will switch back to Photoshop, click on Select All, go to Edit, and click on Copy Merge. By using Copy Merge, I've just copied everything together and merged it into one layer. What is important, I'm not merging the layers in here, so I can still edit them, but they are temporarily merged in the memory of the computer. So if I go back to my Illustrator, go to Edit and click on Paste, this would be pasted as one layer. And as you can see, it fits perfectly to the project that I've created. So So I know at this point that my project, if I prepare it for printing, should be looking fine. So let's save it for print. So I will click Save As. I will save it as my desktop, name it test, switch document to PDF. And this is the window that is quite important for me, because I need to check this panel marks and bleeds, and I need to checkbox trim marks. So I'm checking this trim marks, and I already have use document bleeds at 3 mm. It's grayed out, but you can see if I disable it, you can see it changes to 0. So for example, if you have 0 right now, this means that you forgot about adding the bleeds in Illustrator at the beginning. It's not a problem. You can always uncheck this and switch to 3 mm. It doesn't matter whether it's grayed out or active. Important is the value that is underneath, and in this case it should be 3 mm. So let's click on Save. Okay, it's saved. So let's minimize and let's check our document. So this is correctly prepared document. We've got trim lines in here. Our background is exceeding trim lines. If our document would be smaller and look like this size, this would mean that there is a mistake. But if it exceeds trim lines, that's fine. Also, the text and all the important graphics, if there are, should have like at least 2 or 3 mm space from the edges. So the method that I'm showing you is not perfect, but it actually allows you to see the mistakes if you are making any. So if you, for example, forget about changing the color mode and copy and paste it in Illustrator, Illustrator will automatically change the color mode for you, so you don't have to worry about it. If you, for example, create too small file in Photoshop and paste it in Illustrator, it will look like this. So you would know that, okay, I've got problem with this, I can correct it. So the method that I'm showing you is not perfect, but actually is one of the most forgiving ones, because you are able to see the mistakes during preparing file for printing.